passed on Shedeur was the Steelers. Here's a look at their draft. They had just 2 picks in the top 120. They took Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon in the first round, and then running back Caleb Johnson in the third round. 4 of their final 5 picks were on the defensive side of the ball. The lone exception, quarterback Will Howard in the 6th round. He joins Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson in the QB room. Adam, the Steelers said they would be adding 2 quarterbacks. We saw them from the draft. They drafted Will Howard. What are their plans from here?
Well, there's one, and I think they're hoping and thinking and believing that the last one will be Aaron Rodgers. Art Rooney, the owner of the team, said over the weekend that he still was optimistic that Aaron Rodgers was going to wind up in Pittsburgh, hopefully sooner rather than later. But there is patience within the organization. Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach, has not been in any rush to get a decision from Aaron Rodgers, but really the Steelers are the last team that remains that needs a quarterback here for the upcoming season, and Aaron Rodgers clearly would like to continue playing, though he said on the Pat McAfee show he hadn't made that decision just yet. But it's a situation where I think the Steelers believe ultimately he'll come around, he'll wind up opting to play, and he'll wind up opting to play in Pittsburgh. The other team that seemingly interested Aaron Rodgers, the Minnesota Vikings, traded for Sam Howell over the weekend. They would seem to have satisfied their need for another quarterback with Sam Howell and that acquisition. And now that leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers waiting to join forces. It still could be a little while before he signs him, but I think the belief within the organization is that he still will come around and wind up this season in Pittsburgh.
All right, so we keep waiting for that. Adam, Mina, what do you think of how the Steelers approached the draft, only taking Will Howard in the 6th round?
I would have taken a quarterback earlier, just to be blunt. I don't begrudge them skipping on quarterback in the 1st round. I actually love the Derek Harmon pick, player I really liked at a position of need for them. But after that, they had a couple of opportunities, I think, to take a swing on one. Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round. They took a running back, Caleb Johnson. And then in the 4th, instead of taking Sanders, they took Jack Sawyer, who gives them edge depth. But the way I see it, Laura, if you're a team without a long-term answer at quarterback, and I think we can agree even if the Steelers add Aaron Rodgers, they still don't have a long-term answer. You got to take some swings. People say, well, they can go for it next year. Well, frankly, we're talking about a team that never picks in the top 10 because they don't lose that many games. And they're also in a division that just loaded up on draft picks for next year. So I don't see that as a plan. I don't see Aaron Rodgers as a long-term plan. And I just wish they had been a little bit more aggressive at the position. I
thought the Steelers' intentions or their feelings about Shedeur Sanders became crystal clear for me at pick 83 in the 3rd round. When they didn't take him at 21, you're saying to yourself, I get you, Derek Harmon's an excellent player who led all FBS defensive tackles and pressures last season. That is one where it's a premium need for them in a premium position, even if not at the level of quarterback. Once they bypassed Shedeur Sanders at 83, the message to me was very obvious. We're not interested in this player. We just don't view him as a draftable quarterback at this point, which probably means their grade for him is below that of a starter level. So I was actually okay at that point with them waiting until the 6th round because I didn't think the gap between Will Howard and a lot of the quarterbacks that went ahead of him was really a gap at all. As a matter of fact, I had Wills with a 3rd round grade in this draft, so I thought it was a good investment for Pittsburgh. I just am most nervous about this is that, there's a lot of optimism repeatedly from the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. What's the wait, though? I mean, this has been multiple months of Aaron Rodgers seemingly having one suitor left over and no deal has been put to paper. Again, it's not like there's mini camps or training camp that he's missed out on, J-Mag, but still I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if it can't get done, we're not in the era where he needs to go, you just sign a signature on whatever, an iPad, and we're good to go, I thought.
Well, and Adam just said, it could take a lot longer. I know how I would feel if I were in that locker room, but if you're a player in this Steelers locker room right now and this is your quarterback situation, how are you feeling?
You're sitting around waiting for that first team meeting and you're kind of looking at each other, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and it feels like deja vu where you continue to go in. And this year, very different than last year where there was some hope behind Justin Fields and Russell Wilson that they were going to be able to come help you or possibly save you. Didn't work out. Now you're going into this season and even going into draft weekend. I think for the players in that locker room, You didn't think you were going to walk away with a quarterback that was going to come in as a rookie and lead this team in that division to continue to win a ton of games. So you're feeling very uneasy, and you're kind of hoping that Rodgers does decide to sign and come play for your football team, because you don't like the prospects, even of a guy like Will Howard, who was a champion in college. You don't expect him to come in and win games right away. So it'd be nice to have a veteran in Rodgers.
Quickly, what about Kirk Cousins? Should they be trying to make, if the Falcons would make him available?
I mean, that's very interesting. An older quarterback, but a guy that you take away this past season where he was injured coming off a down year, he has been very accomplished in this league, and he'd be a veteran in that locker room. So, I mean, if you're a player that's not your money, absolutely. Throw some draft picks at him, throw some money, and bring him on to Pittsburgh.
Well, that'd be interesting if the players could control who they got. All right, coming up next on NFL Live, we got a lot.
Round him next. If I said Kirk Cousins is now just stuck in Atlanta for the year, is that an overreaction?
I say yes. I still think there are ways this could turn out where he gets what he wants and gets an opportunity to go somewhere else and be a starter. But right now, there doesn't seem to be an obvious landing spot for him. Somebody gets hurt in the offseason, which often happens, unfortunately. Aaron Rodgers turns the Steelers down. I mean, there are things that could open up, but right now, Cousins at this point projects to be the backup to Michael Penix Jr., and I don't think anybody's thrilled about that.
Well, you mentioned the Steelers. So if someone were to say the Steelers made a mistake not drafting a quarterback before the 6th round, is that an overreaction?
I say it's an overreaction. I think they felt like this group of quarterbacks didn't offer them a transformative player. They need to get this question answered for the long term. If Aaron Rodgers is coming, and they are still optimistic that he will, then they wouldn't want to take somebody that would cause an issue with him. So next year's quarterback draft is thought to be probably better. And I think the Steelers know that if they can patch it together with an Aaron Rodgers this year, they might be in a position to land somebody who has a better chance to be their long-term answer next year.
Did the Steelers make a mistake this weekend not addressing the quarterback more than they did?
Yes, because you're putting your eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket, which we know based on his most recent interview, Greeny, with Pat McAfee, he's not sure if he wants to play. So your options get more limited. And then if we're the Steelers and we call up the Atlanta Falcons and say, hey, we want Kirk Cousins, with all that guaranteed money, you're giving them all the leverage. So I was very surprised strategically that the Steelers didn't address the quarterback sooner. Will Howard's an interesting prospect. But again, when you go get DK Metcalf and say, we have a problem scoring, let's go get a point scorer, I am sure they didn't think Mason Rudolph would be their open day quarterback.
Here's the only thing I'll say. The Steelers have come under some uncharacteristic criticism in recent years, and probably some of it is deserved. But the reality is they are an organization that knows what they are doing, right? Bottom line. So the things they have done don't add up. Like they just let Russell Wilson walk away. They let Justin Fields walk away. They seem to have put all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. They had 5 opportunities or whatever it was to draft Shedeur Sanders and didn't do it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I keep coming back to they know what they're doing. They have to have some other plan that I'm not aware of, Peter. What is it?
Look, Rodgers met with them and was very transparent. And Rodgers met with them and the Giants, and Rodgers said to them, I do not have a timetable. I do not know when I'm going to make this decision. If you are uncomfortable with that, you can pivot, and there's no harm done. In fact, the Giants did that and signed 2 different veteran quarterbacks. And Rodgers afterwards said he appreciated Brian Daboll in the meeting that they had, and that Daboll pivoted. The Steelers opted not to. If you ever thought that Aaron Rodgers is on a timeline or has some back handshake deal, I don't think he does. I think the Steelers are banking on the fact that this guy's not done, there are no more seats at the table, and they make the most sense. But I do not think this has been agreed upon yet. It's just they are trusting that he will come eventually.
And or they have some other plan that I just don't know what it is. There's somewhere else they think they can make a trade.
They know there's other options, right? Like all of a sudden it's crowded in Cleveland. It's crowded with the Giants. Like some of these guys, these veterans could still shake loose on a trade market or get
They could get Kenny Pickett back.
Yeah, but I can't believe
I don't think that's going to happen.
That was a joke, but go ahead.
I don't think the Steelers are going to wait on an AFC North rival to get their quarterback. And again, like all I'm saying, what I find to be inconsistent, Greeny, is if you're going to go get Metcalf and say we have an issue at offense, then go get the quarterback. If not, go trade T.J. Watt.
Would you have felt better if they'd gotten Sam Howell this week?
No, but I would have felt better if they'd taken Shedeur Sanders for sure.
How do we know? I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a 5th-round draft pick. How do we know he's a better option for them this year than Mason Rudolph?
No, I don't know that. That's what I mean. I'm trusting that they know more than I do. D. Wood, if you're a player on that team, what are you thinking?
What the hell is going on? Like, I can't even imagine, like, Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt's like, bro, we're just in a constant spin cycle right now. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. They have no solution at quarterback. You're literally throwing all your eggs in the basket on a guy who has 1 foot in retirement. That is the worst position to be if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. The worst.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
The problem is, and they know this firsthand because of what happened to them 2 years ago with Kenny Pickett. If you take a guy in the first round and he's not the guy, that spin cycle just gets even worse.
Right, but
I'm not advocating that they should have just taken Shador out. I'm just talking about the totality of their quarterback situation is awful right now.
They could have taken him in the 4th round. Is the point I'm making. All right, we'll see. Coming up.
Fair enough.
Rồi mình móc tiếp xuống nữa. Móc tiếp này. Tiếp tục móc nha mọi người. Các lần lượt như vậy. Đây này. Còn một cái khúc nhỏ nhỏ này nữa là xong. Mình sẽ móc tiếp cái khúc này nhé. Đây, móc vào. Mũi tiếp theo. Mình gỡ thêm chút len để dùng nha mọi người. Rồi bây giờ móc xuống nữa này. Móc tiếp. Đấy, móc tiếp nữa. Cứ luân phiên như thế này là được. Mình móc nối vào đây nhé. Tiếp nha mọi người. Này, mũi tiếp nữa này. Tiếp tục móc. Một mũi nữa này. Rồi bây giờ sẽ móc nối vào và siết dây. Đây sẽ được một cái phần thun 2 màu rất là dễ thương rồi. Giờ thì mình sẽ móc cái màu tiếp theo vào. Mình chuyển sang màu len xanh nhé. Mình gỡ len ra. Đây giờ sẽ tiến hành móc vào. Đây, móc vào và siết chặt phần len đỏ. Đây, móc vào đây. Mình sẽ móc những cái mũi đơn nhé. Hàng này cũng móc những mũi đơn. Móc luân phiên từng mũi một. Đấy, móc luân phiên từng mũi vào nhé. Tiếp nha mọi người. Mũi nữa này. Hàng này thì tỷ lệ sẽ là 4-1 đi, 4 mũi lẻ, 1 mũi đôi. Đấy, mình móc vào như thế này. Tiếp tục nhá, móc vòng quanh nha. Rồi móc tiếp xuống. Đấy, móc lần lượt từng mũi như này là được. Tiếp nha. Móc tiếp xuống. Đấy, mình sẽ móc